We have a big update in the case of the former American Idol contestant who appeared to be steamrolling to trial less than 3 months after he made this emotional phone call in the middle of the night.
Oh my God.
Miami County, 911.
Oh my, somebody broke into my home. Somebody broke into my home and shot my wife.
Are they still in there?
I don't know. Please hurry. Please hurry.
What are you seeing?
My wife she's got 2 shots to her head.
But we just learned that Caleb Flynn will not stand trial so quickly on charges he allegedly killed his wife with their 2 young daughters sleeping close by. Why Caleb Flynn pleaded with the court for more time. We're on the case presented by Law&Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Hey guys, real quick, before we get into this episode of On the Case, I want to talk about a sponsor, and I really think you're going to like it, Van Man. I've been using their Pearl Eye Cream, which combines tallow with wild-caught pearl powder. It's one of the most nutrient-rich ingredients on earth for skin and eye health. And they've also added some super potent royal jelly, organic green tea, and some of the finest anti-aging essential oils like frankincense and rose, which are ingredients you can actually pronounce. So give your eyes the care they actually deserve. Go to vanman.shop/OTC and use code OTC for 15% off your first order. Van Man, real ingredients, no exceptions. If and when Caleb Flynn goes on trial for allegedly killing his wife, his 2 young daughters, they're just 9 and 12 years old, they may have to take the stand and testify about the night that their mom was killed, and they may have to do it with their dad just sitting feet away with his freedom on the line. It is hard to predict what the emotion would be like in the room if that happens. When that happens, it's very unclear at this point. Caleb Flynn was slated to go on trial May 4th, but today we heard from the courts in Ohio that date is not going to happen. We were told attorneys will be meeting tomorrow to talk more about that. Caleb Flynn did not waive his right to a speedy trial, and the court system's been full speed ahead ever since he was arrested back in February.
All right.
Step forward.
You want evidence? What's that?
Now, that is the body cam video of the moment he was arrested as he sat in a police station lobby. And that question raised by the person who was sitting with him, what evidence do police have that Caleb Flynn allegedly killed the mother of his children, a woman named Ashley Flynn? This is a woman who he once gushed about as a contestant on American Idol more than a decade ago. And that question, what evidence? It is a fair one. And at this point, we can really only speculate about why police say Caleb Flynn's story is allegedly bogus. His story being that someone broke into their home on a cul-de-sac in Tip City, Ohio, north of Dayton, and killed his wife, Ashley Flynn, in their bed. We now have the witness list that the defense filed with the court of people who may be called to testify if and when Caleb Flynn stands trial. And we're going to go over some of the interesting names on that list here in just a moment. We've also learned that the jury in a trial would go see Caleb Flynn's house in person to take in the crime scene for themselves. Flynn's defense attorney told a court that he wanted jurors to see the layout of the home for themselves as long as everything was the same as it was on that terrible day back in February.
We're okay with the jury view so long as the kitchen hasn't been moved, the garage hasn't been moved, the rooms in the house haven't been moved, to the extent that I don't even care if the roof is not there anymore, as that's not relevant to this particular case. I would like the jury to be able to see the ingress and egress from the home and the location of various rooms in the home. So it's really not terribly complicated.
Now, while the jury may see Flynn's house, Caleb would have the right to go with the jury to see it as well. But he told the judge that he wouldn't want to do that. Now, before we get into that witness list and some of the debates that's taken place over Flynn's daughters taking the stand, I want to go through what police saw when they were first called to Caleb Flynn's home in the middle of the night on February 16th.
Corey?
Okay. I've checked this right here, nothing else.
Okay.
My daughters are in the bedroom over there, they're still asleep.
Okay, have you checked on them?
The 911, yes. As of right now, no one else comes in here, period.
No, every door.
No one.
Okay.
So it's around 2:30 in the morning and Caleb Flynn called 911. He's emotional. He's claiming a home invader came into their house and killed his wife as their children slept close by. Now, you notice in that body cam video, he says the couple's 2 daughters are still asleep in their rooms. This month, prosecutors filed a motion saying, quote, the state anticipates multiple children to testify during the state's case in chief, potentially meaning the Flynn's daughters, ages 9 and 12, will have to take the stand with their dad on trial for their mom's murder. Now, here's an interesting back and forth that has been taking place on that topic, because the state lists the rights that they want the children to have, which includes having an advocate or a victim's representative of the child's choosing present in the courtroom in a position clearly visible in close proximity. Now, Flynn's team responded questioning the need for the children having a child advocate in the room during their testimony. They say no evidence has been presented that proves an advocate would be necessary, and a hearing hasn't been held. Now let's talk about Caleb's wife, Ashley. This was a woman who appears to have been beloved by the community. She was a local volleyball coach, she was a teacher, and she and Caleb were very active in their church. Caleb says that the person who killed Ashley came into their house through an open garage door and then shot her twice in their bed. I want you to listen to the story that he tells the 911 dispatcher allegedly.
What are you seeing?
My wife she's got 2 shots to her head. There's blood everywhere. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Sir, please.
Ma'am, I need you to take a deep breath, okay? Do you still see anybody in the house?
No, the door to the garage was wide open. Please hurry, please. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. My daughters are here. My daughters are here.
Where's she at?
She's in the bed. She's in the bed.
Are you with her?
I am in the room. I'm looking at her. Yes, please.
Okay. Do you guys have the door locked?
We have the doors to the garage locked, but into the house, yes. Please. Oh my God, oh my God. Please.
Where's that room at in the house? My partner's getting them dispatched, okay? But I need you to answer my questions so I can get you help as fast as I can, okay?
What question?
Where are you guys at in the house?
I'm in the bedroom with her right now.
Okay.
My daughters are in their room.
So you are not with the children?
I was with the children when it happened.
Okay, but you're not with them now?
No, they're in their room. They're not even awake. Oh my God, oh my God.
So there you see some confusion on the line about where the children are in the home, and he says the children are still asleep, even though their mom had just been shot. And it stands out that Caleb Flynn did not go running to protect his kids. He's just letting them sleep, according to this 911 call. Now, here is what he said about where Ashley is, that she's dead in the bed.
Are you hearing anything?
No, I've rubbed her leg and said her name. She's not answering.
Okay. Your daughter's not answering you?
I'm sorry. No. Hold on. I'm putting on her shirt. What'd you say? What'd you say?
Your daughter's not answering you?
No, they're across the room.
Okay.
In their room.
Okay. Are you hearing any kind of noise inside the house?
No, her face is, her face is white as good ghost. Please hurry.
Okay, whose face?
My wife's face.
Your wife's face?
The one who was shot.
She was what?
Shot, I said.
Okay, where was she shot at?
In the head. I hope there's blood everywhere.
Okay, is she breathing?
I don't think so. Ashley, baby, please. Oh my God, she's not.
Then in the body cam video, Caleb tells police that he keeps a gun in the glove box of his car. Now, we don't know if authorities believe they have the alleged murder weapon in this case. The video is redacted, but you can hear the audio of officers speaking and Caleb speaking. And even though it's blurred on the screen, you still get a good idea of where officers are in the house. Here they are talking with Flynn, and then they work their way into the garage as they try to validate the story that Caleb is telling them.
What do I do with my daughters? What do I do with my daughters?
Right now, I need you to breathe, okay? Do you have any family that you can call? Okay, where's your phone at? Okay. Do you want to call family? Hold on. Corey, do you watch him? Yep.
Water's in around there, not together.
Yes, one person only.
Oh, that door's open over there. That back door's open. Is that lead outside? Because I can't see. Is that a closet? Okay.
The center console of the truck's open.
It is. Should we have him? Okay, look at this. Watch out. Oh no, it's paint.
Don't touch the truck.
Do you see any blood along the truck at all?
Back door's open.
Hey, is someone watching him? Somebody needs to be watching him.
Now, I've watched this body cam video several times, and it always stands out to me how officers want to make sure that Caleb is in their sights and how they even whisper to each other about alleged suspicions they may have about his story.
Everything?
Yeah. The back door is open. There's like a door on the side right there. It's open, so.
You guys cleared the garage and everything?
Yeah. We didn't. The truck, the center console of the truck's open, and that's where he said he keeps his gun. So.
Who shot?
The wife.
In the same room with him?
Yeah. In her bed. In the bed.
He didn't hear anything?
I haven't talked to him. Corey's the one that's talked to him.
Based on everything we know about Caleb, to the outside world, it seemed like he was the last person who would do something like kill his wife. After about 45 minutes inside the home, we see on the body cam video that he makes his way outside, and there's this emotional embrace that he has with someone who hasn't been identified. They seem like a close friend, even a family member. Watch.
Come on, honey.
Did the squad you looked at yet? I mean, you think you got squad come just to look at him?
The girls don't know. The girls are sleeping. Can I take? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do either. I'm just total I'm in shock. Yeah, I think maybe.
Do you want to sit down on the steps?
Do you have a blanket? Can we get him a
Yep.
blanket?
Yep. Get him a blanket. Who walked around in the back?
What's that?
Who walked around in the back? The deputies?
Deputies.
None of us have walked around in the back?
No.
Do you not want us to?
I don't think, I don't.
Let.
I was going to wait till dogs got here. We have 2 dogs down
Okay.
here. I just had them go around and put up, I don't know, Colt might have went around some to put up the tape.
Yeah.
That would have been it.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, Troy said they could bring a drone, but we don't even know what they were looking for.
I heard the
I mean,
till I heard and I froze, and then I ran, and the door to the garage was wide open, and then I.
How long were you here before we got here? Like 20 seconds?
yeah, not too long.
Okay.
'Cause I think I seen your guys' lights.
Yeah. No cars came driving out of
No,
here?
I didn't see nothing.
I didn't see anything either, all down high, and I didn't see
I
anything.
came, first one, it came in, I started going fast, and they said,
Yeah,
what the,
yeah.
I hit my siren.
Oh, yeah.
And then I turned the siren off a ways down, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't scare no one.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't find it at first.
Well, the side door is what's open.
It's open still.
Yeah, it is.
In the hours after Ashley was killed, police said the working theory was that this was a burglary that turned deadly. They put drones in the air, there were dogs on the ground, but they say they did not find any sign of an intruder.
All right, Caleb. I need you to stand up when we place that lattice. All right.
Step forward.
You want evidence? What's that?
Turn around for me, sir.
Later that week, Caleb Flynn was arrested and charged with Ashley's murder. We haven't seen interrogation video yet, and we still don't really know what's at the heart of the state's case against Caleb Flynn and why they believe what he is telling them is allegedly a lie. Also, no motive for this alleged crime has been publicly stated as of yet.
I'm sorry to meet you under these circumstances, sir. Again, you can call me Will. Now, what was your first name, sir?
Caleb.
Caleb. All right.
Anything from me or
My parents coming in from out of town, like my phone and everything.
I'm gonna try to get everything processed with that we would need, and we'll see what we can do about as far as like getting it back to you as soon as possible. Yeah. But unfortunately, in the situation, it's kind of standard for us to collect everything. Okay. I'm gonna step out since you're doing your thing with him. If you need anything, just
okay.
All right.
Pretty simple process. So, I'm sure Detective Morgan. Yeah, I got one. Thank you. Kind of told you. So for touch DNA, if there's stuff left at the residence, this would eliminate you. Like if the crime lab, they see it and they're like, okay, no, this matches the homeowner. So we need, or it doesn't. So now we have this other profile. We got to try to find out who that is. Okay. So with these, it's real simple. It's sterile, new packaging. So if you just open your mouth and then I just put it in and I swirl it around on your cheek a couple times.
This is video of Caleb giving his DNA voluntarily to police at the station. Flynn has been in custody since his arrest. He's appeared in court multiple times. The judge set a May 4th trial date, and at the last court hearing, Flynn's attorney said they had no motions to file at that time, but now there is going to be a delay. Flynn's defense attorney filed this motion saying that they wanted to delay the trial 21 days because, quote, the state has continued to provide voluminous discovery, some of which is actually relevant. And again, today on Tuesday, a judge decided that the case will be postponed, but we don't know when a new trial date will be set. We do have the potential witness list for the defense. That was made publicly available. That list includes people like the chief of police in Tip City, Ohio, the arresting agency, as well as several officers with the Tip City Police Department and several FBI agents. The federal government was called in to help investigate this case. Also, based on addresses, it appears that several of Flynn's neighbors are on the list as well. Now, there are two sections where names have been redacted on that potential witness list. We don't know who they are. Joining us now to talk more about this case is retired Judge Fanon Rucker, now an attorney. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to be with us here on Law and Crime. It just seemed like this case was steamrolling towards a trial at just a very, very quick pace. Now we know it is going to be delayed. But what do you make of the defense's strategy to this point of really going along as if on May 4th, Caleb Flynn was going to stand trial?
Well, you know, it's always difficult to know. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on today. I appreciate being on. And anytime we talk about May the 4th, I'm a good Star Wars fan, so I love that day. May the 4th be with you. I got got my lightsaber in the background. But when we talk about strategy and trials, you never really know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know if there's some butterflies in the stomach because of a witness that has arisen, or if some information has been revealed in the hundreds or thousands of pages of documents that the lawyers have been reviewing in preparation. You don't know if a witness that you were ready for and expected was going to say something. There's been some behind the scenes information that they may be changing the story. You just never know. But what we do know is that part of the delay here that was being requested had to do with the anticipation of an expert report. By our criminal rules in Ohio, and every state has their criminal and civil rules, but in the criminal rules in Ohio, you got a certain amount of time that the law requires before you have to deal with an expert report. And so the delay here is understandable, with the idea that, in fact, there will be an expert, or there is another expert report. They got to have time to prepare for that. And a week just isn't enough under the rules that we have established.
And what type of expert, and I know like it's kind of very general, like in the court document, just as an expert report, but typically in a case like this, what might an expert report be?
So it's funny. I was having this conversation a couple of days ago with a non-lawyer friend of mine. It actually was in the context of church. And I said, in trials, there's two types of witnesses. There are lay witnesses and there are expert witnesses. A lay witness is just any person who said, hey, I saw that happen, or I'm familiar with these people, or whatever the case is. An expert is anybody who has specialized knowledge or information either about the facts, the processes, or evidence. So in the context of a murder case, you can have an expert witness on just about anything. You can have an expert witness testify to blood spatter evidence and how actually the blood spatters, depending on the direction of a gun and where the bullets are fired and how many and in what sequence. You can have an expert testify on the length of time, perhaps, that a body is actually going. You can have a voice expert testify to the legitimacy of a phone call and what they hear in the person's voice. I mean, so there are as many potential experts, meaning people who have specialized knowledge, skill, experience, or training in a particular field that can give assistance to the trier of fact, which either obviously is the jury or the judge. Here we're talking about that can look the jury in the eye and say, based on my scientific knowledge and experience, this is what we understand in this area this to mean. So it could be any number of things that the expert could be. It could be heavy, or it could be something benign that may add to the case in some way.
Because in Caleb Flynn's motion, at first, when they motioned to delay the trial, there was talk about discovery. And there was a line from his defense attorney saying that some of it was relevant. So it just seems like a lot of information is coming in, a lot of pieces of evidence, and said that some of it may be usable for their defense. I mean, typically, what does that discovery process, because it almost, in the way that it's written, was almost a little passive aggressive, like at the prosecutors, of saying, hey, you're sending us a lot, but only some of this stuff would be considered necessary for preparing a defense for trial. Like, is there a sense of gamesmanship that goes on almost between prosecutors and defense in this part of it, where the defense or the prosecution says, hey, we're going to give you everything, and we know it's going to take a long time to go through it?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question and an interesting observation. I've been practicing for 30 years. I've been a prosecutor, so I started off most of my career, and then I was a judge, and then I did civil rights work, and that's what I do now. And I do personal injury. And I mean, there is in every piece of litigation some aspect of what you explain as gamemanship. It's unfortunate from my perspective because we're dealing with people's lives. We're dealing with the most serious consequences that a person can possibly face. And we're dealing as lawyers with the game. It's one of the things that's frustrating to me, but it is a true observation. And the courts and the law say we do not accept nor do we support trial by surprise. We don't want either side to be able to just throw some stuff on the wall at the last minute and the other side not be prepared. So the rules and the way that judges function is intended to kind of hone down on some of that trial by surprise stuff. And so it does allow for time to review records. It does require the disclosure of certain witnesses and what their expected testimony is going to be. But in the grand scheme of things, as a lawyer, I don't have to disclose to the other side every question that I'm going to ask of a witness when they get on the stand. That's my own personal, notes and work product that I've shaped over 30 years of practice. I don't have to tell them everything. So I'm going to give them everything that I got, and I'll know what I'm going to use. But the other side is going to have to figure it out in their own strategy with their defense. And I think that may be a little bit of what we're seeing here now.
Yeah, and I'm sure for the prosecutors as well, it's, hey, we're going to give you everything that we have. So if and when we get a conviction, you can't come back and say that we didn't give you all the pieces of evidence that you needed to put together a defense and that there weren't any surprises in this case. We have learned that potentially Caleb Flynn's daughters, they're 9 and 12 years old. And man, is it a tough part of this story that they were in the house allegedly when all of this took place, and they were allegedly sleeping at the time all of this took place, but they potentially could be called to testify. And it's hard to imagine what the mood, the emotion of the room would be for that to take place. But the state says they want to make sure that there are advocates potentially there to help the 9 and 12-year-old if they're on the stand. And now the defense has filed a motion saying, well, hold up a second. What's the reason why there should be advocates? Not saying that there shouldn't be, but maybe there should be a hearing. Maybe we should go over it a little bit more. What do you make about that back and forth that's playing out?
Yeah. So the law says, look, we certainly allow folks under the age of 18 to testify. However, recognizing the sensitivity that, youth provides in these types of contexts, we're going to have certain protections in place. They're going to be able to be hidden behind a screen so the defendant can't see them, but the jury and the judge can, so you can see their reactions. They're going to be an advocate that's in close proximity so they feel comfortable about it. I mean, there's a number of things, but the defense is saying, well, okay, that's fine. We know that the law says that, but it's not automatic. Just because a child is testifying doesn't mean that the defense can't see them. You gotta present some reason why that child is afraid to testify or would feel uncomfortable. And without the precursor, without the justification for implicating those protections from the defense perspective, they're saying, no, they ought to just be able to testify just as a regular witness. And unless and until, prosecutor, you establish that there's a reason that those particular and specific protections ought to be able to be implemented here, we don't agree. And we want there to be some finding by the court that is necessary, not that it's automatic. And that makes sense.
And what's typically the bar for that? Because I think you could look at that and say, like, these girls, 9 and 12, I mean, elementary, 12-year-old, you're almost in middle school, but still, I mean, this is a case where your mom has lost her life and there's your dad and his freedoms on the line. Like, that seems in and of itself, even for an adult in that situation, having to testify would be traumatic. Like, what is the bar the court is looking for to actually say, yes, you have met the threshold where an advocate could be there to help this minor testify?
Well, I'll give you the perfect example where something like that would be ideal. Say there is a person who is accused of child abuse or, heaven forbid, and we know that those cases happen, the sexual abuse of a minor. And this is someone who had some influence or some authority over this child before they ended up in court. And that child now was called to literally point their finger at the person who may have birthed them or may have been raised in their house as a parent or a step parent. And now they have to stand up and go against that person. Well, certainly in preparation, that young child probably expressed to the prosecutor their fear or their reluctance in being able to do that. And so that would be a perfect example of where those rules and those protections would be necessary in order to ensure that that child has the ability to get on the stand and testify. We don't know that here. We presume that because the children are being called by the prosecutor to testify in this case against, well, they're testifying on behalf of the state. So presumably they're testifying against their father, but we don't know the relationship. We don't know the influence. We don't know how the father related or engaged with the children. We don't even know if the children were cognizant of what was going on when it happened. What we know the allegation is that they were asleep when this murder happened. But we don't know how that impacted them or what the conversation was. I mean, we don't know those things. And so from the defense perspective, that's exactly the point. We don't know those things. And unless we know that there's a problem, then our position is that the testimony ought to go forward as normal unless and until the state shows that those things are actually, effective, and there's a reason that these children should have to testify behind a screen and that they do have to be subjected to those protections that the statute provides if appropriate.
If and when Caleb Flynn stands trial, the jury may go to his house to see where all of this allegedly took place. He said he's going to waive his right to attend with the jury if that were to happen. How effective can that be for prosecutors to bring the jury into the home where all of this took place so they can tell the story there to a jury of how they say all of this went down?
Well, I've always been one who believed in the effectiveness of site visits, whether it's the site of a horrible car crash on a particular street, whether it's a site visit by the jury at a house like this where a murder took place, either as the judge, a prosecutor, or defense attorney. I've always been supportive of site visits because if a jury is supposed to be making a decision on the facts, the better they are to perceive where, when, what, how, and why, the better they are to make a confident, well-informed decision, not just through pictures and explanations by witnesses. So, from both sides, I would suggest that a site visit would be helpful. And that kind of meet itself out because the defense didn't object to it. The prosecutor suggested it. Both sides agreed that a site visit would be good. Now, the idea that the defendant says, I don't want to go, I don't want to be there, I can understand that from the defense side and from the prosecutor's side to try to exploit, although I don't think they can because there's probably a Fifth Amendment right that they won't be able to raise the fact that he didn't go there as part of the site visit. But they were married. And whether you want to believe that he committed this murder or whether he's innocent unless and until proven guilty, as the law requires, that's got to be difficult. His children lived in the house. They were all there. Whether he did it or not, as the defendant, it makes sense and understandable why he wouldn't want to go there while the folks who are making the decision are also at that home.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. I mean, we were planning on May 4th. It seemed like, and for as fast as it seemed like it was moving, it seemed like it actually was going to happen on May 4th, but now we know that it's going to be delayed. We'll see what happens next. Retired Judge Fanon Rucker, attorney. Always great to have you on Law and Crime. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much.
That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law and Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify, and we're also streaming on Peacock. I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.